Right, let's get started then. Again. So yeah, so the week before the SAT or ACT, doesn't really matter. Focus on your weak spots. Don't just like take a bunch of practice tests, because that can only like help your score so much. You need to drill down onto your mistakes and analyze reasons why you made those mistakes and try to fix them, and that will improve your score the fastest, I guess. And make sure you understand like the route to the correct answer, and not just not just like the fact that the answer is this, and why your answer choice was incorrect if you did get it wrong. And even if you just do this for one section, you should see some major score improvements. Let me just do this. And the next tip is be time conscious. So you don't want to be surprised when you hear that like time's up for that section on the SAT or ACT and you haven't got to all the questions. So don't just like take a whole practice test, but like do a few questions and experiment how long like you take to do each of those questions. So like this should give you a sense of like how long 30 minutes or a minute feels. So you'll know when you need to like skip questions, like when you approach a really hard question that takes longer than the recommended amount of time. And you shouldn't be spending more than a minute on the SAT reading questions, or more than 30 to 40 seconds on each writing section. And in the math section, I usually recommend like spending no more than a minute on each question in both parts, but you will have a bit more time per question on the calculator part than no calculator. Again, it's just like better to be safe than sorry. And if you linger too much on one problem, you won't have a chance to answer some easy questions later in the section, because sometimes a problem that is like a lot harder than the rest of them will appear like in the middle. And if you get stuck up on trying to do that problem, you'll inevitably end up with like running out of time on problems that you would have gotten if you had more time. So the day before the test, one sec. So just like relax, don't try to like cram stuff. It doesn't work. Both times I've taken the SAT, I tried cramming one time, and one sec. So yeah, 1 second. There were some technical issues that came up. All right. So yeah, just like relax. There's no point in trying to cram for the SAT. Like it's just one day. And don't spend too much time studying for the SAT. Around 30 minutes max is good. Go to bed early and pack everything you need to beforehand, like your admissions ticket, some form of ID, some number 2 pencils with like erasers, SAT approved calculator, which you can find out online, like which ones are approved, a jacket or sweater just in case like you get cold during the SAT, because sometimes they put you into rooms that they don't really regulate the temperature for, and it gets really cold. And just some snacks so you don't get like hungry during the SAT. So during the day of the SAT, so again, as I said before, sleep strategically. Go to bed early and try to get at least 7 hours of sleep before the test, and plan to wake up like an hour earlier than you have to, because like if you just roll out of bed and go straight to the SAT, you'll be still kind of sleepy, and you should be totally alert by the time you get to the test center. Don't take the test hungry. So unless like you get nauseous or you just don't ever eat breakfast in the morning, you should probably eat something before the test. And like don't eat too much because you don't want to get sleepy again. But like snack on something small and high on protein so your brain has something to work with. Also, you should bring a couple of snacks that you can eat during the breaks so you don't get hungry again. And as I said in the previous slide, dress well. You want to dress as comfortably as possible and bring layers. That means like a jacket or a sweater, so you don't get like distracted by it being too hot or too cold. If it's too hot, you just take off your sweater. If it's too cold, you put on your sweater. And again, I'm going to emphasize this: pack things beforehand. You don't want to be in a rush and just like suddenly forget your calculator. That's happened to a friend of mine. Same with the photo ID. My friend forgot his photo ID and he couldn't take the SAT, and he had to take it a different day. Same with the calculator. Another one of my friends forgot their calculator, and ended up scoring worse than they would have if they actually had brought their calculator. So during the test, don't be anxious, because if you're anxious, you'll fall into a vicious cycle. Like you'll be anxious, you lose focus, and you'll be taking the test less efficiently, and then you can't finish a section because you're not taking it very efficiently, and you'll get more anxious, and it just repeats over and over again. Skip questions you don't know or you're taking too long with. If you come up against like a difficult question, don't spend a ton of time on it. Just like skip it. You can circle the question that you skip, or like write it down at the front, at the first page of the test so you don't forget about it, and come back to them if you have extra time. And if you let yourself get bogged down, you might not be able to answer future easier questions, like I said 2 slides ago or 3 slides ago. Always guess like if time is about to run out and there's like questions left unanswered. There's no penalty for guessing the wrong answer. So make sure to put down everything for every question. Even if it's just a completely random guess, there's always a chance that you might get it right, since there's only 4 options for multiple choice. And for free response, I guess just take a guess. You could somehow get it right if you did even part of the question. And take the breaks. Even if you don't feel like it, take advantage of the breaks. These like help reduce your stress and remind you that like there's still places outside of the test. And eat a snack, use the bathroom, and you'll probably feel more refreshed and prepared to take on the rest of the test. So another thing during the test, check your answers. Dumb mistakes are very frustrating, and they can usually be corrected if you just look over the question again. And you should use this time to also make sure that you filled out the answer sheet correctly and don't accidentally like skip a question or bubble in the wrong answers. I usually do that. So what happens is I take the test, and then if I have a minute or two left, I usually look at my answer sheet and compare them to the answers I put on the test, just to make sure I bubbled them all in correctly. Because if you do bubble in the wrong answer, that's just losing you unnecessary points that you should have earned, and that is very frustrating. Use everything the SAT gives you. So this applies to all of the sections of the SAT. If you think you can't possibly figure out what the answer to the question is, make sure you exhaust like all resources that you're disposable for guessing. In this case, it could be like formulas at the beginning of a section or other just like context clues. And remember, this isn't like a normal test. Nobody really cares if you show your work or use the right method to solve a problem. You can use whatever you can to try to get that answer. And for some things to keep in mind. On reading, don't be intimidated by an unknown word, especially on the new version of the SAT, like the old version. Unlike the old version, you almost always can use context clues to determine its definition. On the old version, I'm pretty sure you couldn't really, and you just had to memorize different words and hope that you knew everything that was on the old version of the SAT. Take reading passages at face value. If an answer for a question isn't directly supported by what you read in the passage, don't choose it. So if you have 2 answers that you both think are like correct, and they're both like basically equally correct in your eyes, choose the one that's like better supported by the passage. And don't just like use previous assumptions to get answers. Always have your answers be supported by the passage. So for writing, watch out for like the no change answers. If you notice you're getting a lot of them, usually like more than a quarter of your answers to questions that have no changes as an option, just like double check your questions again to make sure you didn't miss something. And study the grammar rules that are on the SAT. Follow them and just don't overthink it. So for math, sometimes math questions will give you a diagram of a shape and you're supposed to find an area, angle measurement, or other dimensions. Usually the most logical answer based on what you can see is correct. So for example, if you're trying to find the measure of a tiny acute looking angle, you could usually rule out 80 degrees as an answer. However, don't always just assume that because it looks correct, it is correct. Use some sort of, I guess, evidence to base your answer. Actually do the math to get your answer. But like you can usually rule out 80 degrees if you're seeing a really tiny angle. On the calculator portion of the math section, use the computing power of your calculator to its full advantage. So if you come across questions about graphs or equations, use the graphing function. And at the same time, don't overuse your calculator to the point where it's costing you more time. Sometimes it's just faster to do things without a calculator. And also make sure you know exactly what your calculator can do, because there are some functions on the calculator that are very useful. And like there's like one which allows you to use to solve systems of equations through your calculator, so you don't make any like silly mistakes. And if you start to do something crazy or complicated for a math problem, you're probably going down the wrong path. The SAT tests like simple concepts that are presented in really weird formats. So more likely than not, if you're doing some complex calculations that are really long, you're probably doing the question wrong. And yeah, that's really it for, I guess, my general tips. Any questions? No? All right, so today, the rest of today's class will mostly just be problems. First thing we're gonna do is this reading passage. Here is a link to it. Do you guys want to do it first, and then I'll do it after? Then just like put something in chat so I know if you guys want to do it first, or should I just do it with you guys? All right, looks like you guys want me to do it. You guys want to do it first. It's 2-1 right now. Two people saying do it first. One person saying do it at the same time. If no one else says anything, then right now it's 2-2. Does anyone else prefer one or the other? Or if anyone else prefers one or the other, just like say it, or I'll let you guys do it first because we have 3 people saying do it first. All right, no? All right, I'll let you guys do it first then. Again, I would say spend around a total of 10-ish minutes on everything, 10 to 15 minutes on the entire thing. And that should be like a number you should stick to, at least for timing. And I'll start doing it with you guys after I'll give you guys a good 10 minutes. Yeah. Here's the link to the passage for the people who are asking. Of course, if you guys finish reading the passage, just tell me that, and I will start doing it if enough people finish reading it. I'll give you guys another, let's say 5 minutes to read the passage, and then we can do the problem. I'll do the passage as well. Again, if you finished reading the passage, just say it in chat so I know that people finished reading it. So I can go over the passage as well. All right, does anyone else need more time for this passage, or should I start doing it? Nope, as in, do you need more time, or nope, as in you don't need more time? Right, so let's do this passage. Let's get my annotation tool. All right, so first thing we do is we look at this. So this passage is about two scientists and their views on vaccination. Right, so passage 1, smoking tobacco causes cancer. It causes small cell and squamous cell cancer cells of the lung, as well as oral and nasopharyngeal carcinoma, whatever, gastronomial carcinoma, and cancers of half a dozen additional tissues. It is highly correlated with the second leading cause of death in the United States, and the decision not to smoke reduces one's risk of lung cancer by more than half. This information will surprise no one. It is therefore baffling that 1 in 5 Americans continues to use tobacco, and yet there's one behavior on the rise that may be still more contrary to human health than smoking, and perhaps more inexplicable as well, as it cannot be explained away by chemical dependence nor by social custom. I speak, of course, of the decision not to not vaccinate one's children. So basically, this passage says cancer is due to smoking, I guess, due to smoking, but there is reasons why people still smoke, but there is no reason why people don't vaccinate. All right, next paragraph. There is apparently a belief among these erring individuals that the ailments against which the Center for Disease Control recommends we vaccinate are somehow less serious than we as a society have been led to believe. There's a belief, moreover, that because these diseases are easily preventable through modern medical science, they must implicitly be easily treatable as well. Let us clarify these matters. So it talks about beliefs of people who don't vaccinate, and says will disprove them. Will disprove them. Not long before it was eradicated by vaccination, smallpox virus embraced entire cultures on 2 continents, whose fatalities fatality rates rose as high as 90%. For those who survived, it was a cause of permanent, often debilitating disfigurement. Prior to the HIV and the TDAP vaccines, epilogitis caused by something influenza and diphtheria caused by something diphtheria. So I'm not going to say that with names, were both exceedingly common causes of death in young children, largely because of their tendency to develop rapidly and obstruct airways. Death typically occurred well before medical attention could be accessed, and thus, in spite of all our modern medical advances, these diseases remain just as dire as they were 200 years ago. So, gave examples of diseases being fatal, gave examples of diseases being fatal, and them being serious. So for the person who's asking how many more classes, this is the last class. I can't spell. Them being very serious. Yes. Today's the last class. It's just going to be a bunch of, I guess, review, really. We're going to go over one passage from each reading, writing, and science, and then we'll do some math questions to wrap it up. And that's really it for today's schedule. And still can't be cured, and some still can't be cured. We could continue this list. In the past, for example, rubella was the most common cause of congenital deafness, and mumps a major cause of sterility. Children who survived the measles, meanwhile, ran and still run the risk of a virus re-emerging years later as subacute serial, whatever that is, a frequent fatal infection of the brain. The point, however, is clear. Vaccination is neither a conspiracy nor a matter of modern convenience, nor is it entirely without risk. But vaccination, plainly put, is the only effective medical intervention to safeguard our children from some of the deadliest and most virulent diseases known to man. So this is basically saying there's still a lot more. There is still more we could list, but vaccinations are useful and help. Passage 2. Let us dispense entirely with the fallacies and the delusions. There is not an analytically credible source on the planet that will defend a link between vaccines, and autism spectrum disorder. But for many conscientious parents who choose not to vaccinate their children, the decision is not based on delusion, but upon a simple mathematical reality. So basically saying, no relation between vaccine and autism, but still reasons why parents refuse to vaccinate. Philosophically, medicine is premised on a balance between benefits and maleficence. That is to say, for a medical intervention to be deemed ethical and appropriate, the risks of not treating an individual must always outweigh the risks inherent in the treatment itself. Risk accompanies every medical intervention, and vaccination is no exception. Specifically, in a certain subset of individuals, exposure to either the gelatin or egg protein components used to stabilize vaccines can result in a life-threatening anaphylactic reaction. Additionally, the so-called live attenuated vaccines, including those for variola, rotavirus, and MMR, contain living strains of their corresponding pathogens that, through genetic modifications, have been rendered pathologically inert. Rarely, these attuned strains may undergo mutation and revert back to their pathogenic forms. Immunocompromised people, such as those infected with HIV are at risk for this dangerous outcome. So basically, there is risk to vaccines, risks to vaccines, and gave examples. While it is true that adverse vaccine events are uncommon, it is equally true that within the American population, most diseases against which vaccinations protect are uncommon, more uncommon, in fact, than the incidence of adverse vaccine events. Thus, as long as a majority of the American population remains vaccinated, an unvaccinated individual would be well protected through the phenomenon described as herd immunity. The decision not to vaccinate therefore hangs upon an appreciation of the dynamic balance between benefits and non-maleficence as it pertains to the individual. While some may argue that taking advantage of such a strategy violates an ethical obligation to society, one cannot help but wonder, when presented with the numbers, will these individuals truly value the health of society above that of their children? Their math equation just doesn't add up. So basically, I guess reason says reasons why people don't vaccinate. Senate, I guess, gives statistic, which is like which is right here, the statistic right here. Right, question 1. For any of the people who already answered it, do you guys want to say the answer? And then I'll see if people got it right or wrong, and then I'll do the answer myself. I'll read out the question. So, with respect to the author's argument as a whole, lines 1 to 12, smoking till tobacco are most strongly served to. Just put your answer in the chat, and then I'll do the answer myself. Or if you just don't know the answer, say I don't know the answer. So I know that people just don't know the answer versus they are still doing it. All right, I saw people putting the answer A as their answer. So the answer to this one is A. And we can do a process of elimination to eliminate the other answers. So B highlights the primary topic of the essay. No, because the primary topic of the essay is vaccinations, not smoking and like the relation to lung cancer. Provides key statistics on both tobacco and vaccination research. Also no, because it doesn't give you vaccination research results. It only tells you about both the tobacco. It illustrates the irrationality of widespread tobacco use given the latest scientific research. Not really. A is the answer, just for people who don't know. This is wrong. This is wrong. It doesn't really do that either. If you go up here, it doesn't really illustrate the irrationality of it because there is some stuff. It says there could be some reasons, and perhaps more inexplicable as well. All that. So A is our answer for 1. Number 2, the primary purpose of lines 19 to 27, there is as till as well is 2. You guys just put your answer in the chat, so I know if you guys got it right or wrong. I saw one person's answer. Again, if you just don't know the answer, just put it in the chat. Again, just put your answer in the chat if you got it, or if you need more time, just say you need more time. But if you just don't know the answer, say I don't know. So I know that people are just like just don't know or just taking more time. All right, so I saw a couple of people put their answers. So lines 19 to 17. Lines 19 to 17, 1 second. Which is right here. Wait, 19 to 27? 19 to 27, yeah. So I'm gonna guess this right here. So this passage was like something about like there are beliefs, but I'll prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. So something along the lines of that would be the answer. A, cite scholarly evidence in support of the author's thesis. No. B, present the alternative views that the author later dissect. Sounds like a good answer. C, underscore the author's fundamental respect for opposing viewpoints. Not really. D, give a vital clarification for the author's argument. No, it's giving the opposite. So B is our answer. Any questions about that? No? So question 3. As used in line 30, the word erase most closely means. Let's put your answer in the chat. Got it. Right, I see a couple of answers. So for 3, line 30, so erased. Line 30. So right here. So smallpox erased entire cultures, eliminated, or like decimated, or like destroyed, or something like that. It should be the answer. So if we go down, it is not A, transported, that doesn't relate to it. Eliminated, which is one of the words I said. Fought, no. Affected, it did affect them, but it didn't. That isn't really related to the other thing. The other words I put up top, so it should be B. Question 4. The author of passage 2 would most likely agree that an unvaccinated individual would be most likely to survive. Put your answer in the chat after you get it. Right, it looks like some people answered. So the answer to this one, remember, the author of passage 2 is saying stuff like in a society where if a lot of people are vaccinated, there's a thing called herd immunity. And right here, so the answer should be something similar to that. And there is an answer that's like that, which is answer D, because he says if everyone else is vaccinated and one person's unvaccinated, then that one person is safe because of herd immunity. So D is our answer. Do you guys want me to say why the other 3 are not answers? Just put it in the chat if you want me to, I guess, review if the other 3 answers. Right, doesn't look like it, so All right, so the answer is not A, because remember, the author said up here that if everyone else is vaccinated, then this one person will be well protected. So they would be safe in that circumstance. So A is not the answer. B, if she or she took preventative measures based on alternative medicine, nowhere in the passage does it say that this would help. So that can't be the answer either. And this isn't directly supported by the passage, so immediately out. If he or she were careful to remain immunocompromised means that you're more likely to get sick. So that clearly just is wrong. So C is not the answer. Right. Question 5. Just put your answer in the chat so I know you got it. Which option gives us the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? Right. So the answer to this one, if we go up, because there's a certain part which I was circling every single time. Right here. So it's from 98 till like 103 or something like that. So 98 to 102 is our answer. Any questions why for any of the previous ones, any of the 5 questions that we've done? No? All right. Question 6. As used in line 61, the phrase dispense entirely with most closely means. Let's put your answer in the chat. Right. The answer to this one is, if we go back up to line 61, just get this. Six. Line 61. So right here, dispense with, entirely with. So something about like get rid of, eliminate, or something like that. So we'll look at whichever answer choices is similar. A, fundamentally understand. No, that's not similar to what I was saying. Physically remove. Nowhere does it say physically remove, or I didn't say that either. Somewhat ignore, not really. To do away with, that means like around getaway. So get it away. So question 7. What is the overall relationship between the 2 passages? Just put your answer in the chat, like always. Also, we're going to answer this one, and we're going to move on to the grammar section because I want to get through everything today. And we've spent a lot of time on this one. So, yeah. So what is the overall relationship between the passages? Answer A. Passage 1 strongly disagrees with the tolerance of non-vaccination in passage 2. Not really. No, not really. B, passage 1 uses a more scientific approach, while passage 2 is more mathematical. Not really, no, again. Passage 2 advocates careful cost-benefit analysis, while passage 1 advocates decisive policies. Nowhere does it advocate decisive policies, so C is not the answer. Passage 2 attempts to explain a phenomenon that passage 1 deems inexplicable. Yes, because passage 1's like, there's no reason why people shouldn't vaccinate. And passage 2 is like, oh wait, there is a reason. There's mathematical proof that if everyone else is vaccinated, you don't have to vaccinate. So D is our answer. All right. So let's just turn these in and move on to writing. Looks like the ones that we did do, we got right. And the answers to the other three were B, D, D for the person who put in all their answers. Right. Next question. All right, I'll give you guys 2 minutes to read, or 5 minutes to read this, and then we will do this. Actually, so do you guys want to do this at the same time as me, or do you guys want to do it beforehand? Oh, yeah, I forgot to share the link to the passage. Whoops, that's only one person. There, that's the link to this passage. So yeah, do you guys want to do the same time or alone? I have one person saying same time. So does everyone else agree that I should just do it at the same time as you guys? So 2 person for same timer and 1 person for alone. No one else responds. I guess it's just, okay, now it's 2-2. All right, 3-2. All right, you guys can do it first and then I'll do it right after you guys. And since you guys want to do it all alone, I'll give you guys 5 minutes just to do to get however far you guys want to get, and then I'll do it right after you guys. I'll do it after 5 minutes. All right, it's been around 5 minutes. Do you guys need more time? Or should I start doing it now? I see one person said they're ready, or at least they put their answers in the chat. Does anyone else need more time, or should I just start doing it now? Also, it's fine that if you need more time, because originally you're supposed to take like 9 minutes for this, and I only gave you guys 5 minutes, but so you're perfectly fine to say you need more time. Right, doesn't look like anyone else says they need time, so let's get started. So for much of the early part of American history, Pennsylvania and Virginia, two major early colonies and states, shared a border. This part of Virginia became the modern state of West Virginia on June 20th, 1863. Then came the Civil War. Amid the terror of the furor of secession and conflict, President Abraham Lincoln granted a special provision for that part of Virginia that was loyal to the Union. Although the region is not in the news quite so often today, in America's early history, one part of it was on the tip of everyone's tongue. The town of Harper's Ferry played a crucial role in pre-Civil War era. George Washington proposed that the United States station one of their two major armories there. And in 1799, Harper's Ferry became one of the major industrial towns in the United States. It's positioned about 60 miles from Washington, D.C., and Baltimore put it close enough to major cities, but its place in the hills at the meeting of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers made it difficult to access and easy to defend. So, question 1. For the sake of logic and coherence of this paragraph, sentence 2 should be placed. If you guys could just put your answers in the chat, that would be nice. I saw one person put the answer, but yeah. All right. So the answer to this one is D. And the reason for that is, so you have sentence 1 and sentence 3. So basically sentence 2 talks about how a part of Virginia became another state, and sentence 3 and 4 gave reasons why it was able to become its own state. So you should put it after the reasons why instead of putting it before the reasons why, I guess, if that makes sense. So the answer to 1 is D. How about question 2? What did you guys put? Put your answer in the chat. Again, I have one person already put their answer. All right. The answer to question 2 is C. And the reason for that is the two major armories are referring to the United States. So you say it's two major armories versus their. Their is referring to someone else's versus its is possessive, I guess. Any questions for 1 and 2? How about 3? What did you guys get for 3? Let's put your answer in the chat. Right. The answer to question 3 is D. And the reason for that is because this comma right here is unnecessary and just serves to break apart the thing. It's just one statement. One of the major industrial towns in the United States. So yeah, you just remove the comma, and that's grammatically correct. So question 4, which of the following gives accurate information based on the map? We'll do this one, and then we'll go to the science passage because again, we don't have that much time left in class today. So yeah, what'd you guys get for 4? Just put your answer in the chat again. The map they're talking about is right here. That map. I have one person gave the answer. I see you put your answer in the chat as well. All right, the answer to this one is A, because none of these like the ones that we have, the information that we have already, that it's that like in the hills at the meeting of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers is correct according to the map. So I'm just going to submit this, and we got all 4 of the questions that we did here correct. Right, now we'll do the science passage. And again, we're going through these pretty fast because we still have the math after these. So yeah. So passage number 7, it's pretty short. Yeah, it looks pretty short. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do this, and then I'll do it myself. So yeah, I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do this. And as always, when you get your answers, just put them in the chat. For this one, again, because of time issues, I will just go over the answers. I won't fully read through the entire passage. Here is the link to it before I forget. It's a link to the science passage. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do this. All right. Do you guys need more time, or should I start answering the questions? Again, it's always fine to request for more time. This isn't the actual ACT or SAT. So yeah. right? Doesn't look like anyone else needs too much time. So question 1, based on table 1, which of the following statements best explains the results of trials 1 to 3? So trials 1 to 3 say that so you have same energy per photon, the relative intensity of light goes from low, medium to high, and no current, no maximum energy of electron. So basically, the answer to this one is D. And the reason for that is in the results in table 1 show that the energy per electron was too low to eject photons from the metal in the photoshell. And this can be seen by noting that the maximum kinetic energy is 0, really. So yeah, D. Question 2, consider the following results. Obtained using a 5 eV photon and photons in the same photocell that is discussed in the passage. So you have a graph, relative intensity of light, electrical charge, electrical current, electrical current, maximum energy of ejected electron, EV. And you have values of low, medium, high with different values for electrical current, but with the same maximum kinetic energy of ejected electron. So the maximum kinetic energy of the ejected electron, 3.1 EV, was not the expected value. The expected value was, the answer to this one is G. And the reason for that is, according to the passage, the maximum kinetic energy an ejected electron can have is the photon's energy minus the metal's work function. In trials 4 to 6, if you look down here, the energy for per photon was 4 eV, and the maximum kinetic energy was 0.9, and same with 7 through 9. Maximum was 6, and the EV was 6, and the maximum kinetic energy is 2.9. So this shouldn't have been 3.1, and it should have been between 0.9 and 2.9, because the values are between those. Question 3, when 8 EV photons were shown on the photocell, electrons ejected from the metal in the photoshell had a maximum kinetic energy of 4.9 EV. Based on this information and table 1, the relative intensity of the light shown on the photocell was, we can't determine that, because according to the passage, the maximum kinetic energy an ejected electron can have is, again, the photon's energy minus the metal's work function. And 4 through 6 show that the maximum kinetic energy of an ejected electron is not influenced by the relative intensity of light. Same with all of the other ones too. 1 to 3, 7 through 9 all show that the maximum kinetic energy is not really affected by the relative intensity of light. So we can't determine it. Question 4, based on the passage in table 1, the work function of the metals used in the photocell is 3.1, because remember, the maximum kinetic energy is EV minus the work function. So 4.0 minus 0.9 is 3.1. 6 minus 2.9 is 3.1. So you just get that. As for question 5, in the photocell discussed in the image, suppose a work function of the metal had been 5.1 EV. If the energy per photon had been the same as in trial 7 through 9, maximum energy of electrons that were ejected from the metal would have been, you just subtract what, 6.0 minus 5.1 to get 0.9 EV, because the function is right here. What is it? Right here, the photon's energy minus metal's work function. So yeah, question 5 is correct, 4 is correct, 3 is correct, 2 is correct, and 1 is correct. Right. We have 20 minutes left, so we'll be doing math questions for the rest of it. Here is a question. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to do this, then I'll do it myself. We should get around 5 of these done, hopefully. And as always, just put your answer in the chat after you get it. And it's perfectly fine if you get it wrong. Just put an answer in the chat. I'll give you guys another minute to do this. And again, just put your answer in the chat after you get it. All right, it's been 2 minutes. Does anyone else need more time? Or should I just start doing it? And if you don't know how to do it, just say, I don't know how to do it, or please explain, or something that tells me that you just don't know how to do it versus you're still doing it. All right, so the way you do this problem is, first you want to create two equations, a system of equations. So we'll have the variable x be the number of left-handed individuals, left-handed females, students, left-handed females, and y be the number of left-handed males. So since using the information given in the problem, we could say that there's a total number of 18 left-handed students. So x plus y has to equal to 18. And there's 120 right-handed, 122 right-handed students. So the systems of equations must, since there's 5 times as many right-handed female students, so 5x plus 9y, because 9 times as many right-handed male students, has to equal to 122 because there's 122 right-handed students. So you're given two equations, x plus y equals to 18, and 5x plus 9y equals to 122. So now that you have this systems of equations, you solve for x and y. In this case, you could do multiply everything by, I guess I'll multiply by 5. So 5 times everything. So 18 times 5 is 90. So you have 5x minus 5y equals to 90. And your 5x plus 9y equals 122. Subtract. So you get plus here. You get negative 4y equals to 32, I believe, if I did my math correctly. You divide by negative 4. Wait, no, it's negative 32 here. So you divide by negative 4, you get y equals to 8. So now, given that you know what y equals to 8, when x plus y equals to 18, therefore x must be 10. So you're given x equals to 10 and y equals to 8. And therefore, you have to do 50 times, 5 times 10, or 50 of the 122 students of 50 of the 122 students are female. And we know this because where's that thing? So I can highlight it. Yeah, no, because right here. So we know that 50 of the I guess whole population is right of 50 of the total number of right-handed people are female. So 50 over 100. And when you do the math with a calculator, you should get A. Any questions? No? All right. Here's another question. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to do this one. And again, just put your answer in the chat after you get it. The answer to the previous question was A. Did you get to the point? Did you see the point where I was doing the systems of equations and how I got my answer? All right, yeah. The answer to this one was A. When you plug it into a calculator, that's what you should get. Okay, just put your answer in the chat after you get it, so I know that people got the answer. I'll give you guys another minute to do this. All right, so for this one, it looks like a lot of people just didn't know how to do this. So first thing we do is, since we know that point PR lies in the equation y equals to x plus b, then the point must satisfy the equation. So substituting p for x and r for y gives us the equation r equals to p plus b, or b equals to r minus p. And similarly, since the point 2p comma 5r lies on the equation y equals to 2x plus b, the point must satisfy the equation. So when you substitute 2p for x and 5r for y, the equation gives 5r equals to 4p plus b, because remember you're multiplying 2 here, it's 2x times 2p, so 4p. So that is equivalent to b equals to 5r minus 4p. And now we can set the two equations equal to b equal to each other and just simplify. These can be equal to each other. So there. So b equals to r minus p is the same as 5r minus 4p. So when you simplify, you get you can get, so just take these out. So 4p, you add 4p on both sides, 4p, and you subtract r. So you get 3p equals to 4r. And to find r over p, we have to divide both sides of the equation of by p and by 4. So you divide this side by p, so you get p 3 equals to 4r over p. You divide everything by 4, and you get 3 over 4 equals to r over p, and therefore our answer is 3 over 4. Any questions? No? All right. Here's another one. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to do this one. Again, just put your answer in the chat after you get it. I'll give you guys another minute. And the problems I picked for today are on average a lot harder than the ones you'd see on the SAT. So it's fine if you're struggling on these. These are probably the hardest questions you'll get on any one SAT. Again, just put your answer in the chat if you get it. If not, it's fine. Just say I don't know. All right. So the way we do this question is, since the average, the arithmetic mean of two numbers, m and 9, means that it's equivalent to the sum of the two numbers divided by 2, you can set x equals to m plus 9 over 2, y equal to 2m plus 15 over 2, and a z, this is a 2. Oh my god, 2, that's a 2. Z equals to 3m plus 18 over 2. So the averages of x, y, and z is given by x plus y plus z. The reason it's over 2 is because when you're taking the average or the arithmetic mean of two numbers, you do number 1 plus number 2 over 2 because you're doing it of two numbers, right? So you want the average of x, y, and z. So that's given by x plus y plus z over 3. And when you substitute each of the equations into it, you get m plus 9 over 2 plus 2m plus 15 over 2 plus 3m plus 18 over 2 all over 3. And when you simplify this fraction and you do all the math for it, like 9, this is a 9, you should get something like m plus 7 as your answer. Do you guys want me to do the simplification of this? All right. The answer is B. This is the last question we'll do, and then that's really it for this, I guess, class, because today's the last day. Give you guys 2 minutes to do this, and I'll do it myself, and then we're done. And I have more questions on there with answers. However, I don't think we're gonna get to them today. So yeah, there's like 5 more questions you guys could do if you guys want to do more practice. Otherwise, that's really it. Yeah, I'll give you guys another minute. Just put your answer in the chat. All right. So for this question, the way you do this is so you have to set up equations with variables. So you let Q1 be equal to the dynamic pressure of a solid velocity with of a solid fluid moving with velocity 1, and Q2. So it's V1, and Q2 would be with V2. So with that, you'd say you also know that V2 is equivalent to 1.5 times V1. Whoops, so 5 times V1. And so when given the equation, you're given the equation Q is equivalent to 1/2 times N times V squared. So you substitute the dynamic pressure and the velocity of the flash fluid, giving Q2 equal to 1 over 2 N times V2 squared. And since V2 is 1.5 times V1, the expression 1.5 V1 can be substituted into it. So you're given Q2 equals to 1/2 N times 1.5 V1 squared. And by squaring 1.5, you can rewrite the previous equation as, let me just write this out. Q2 equals to 2.25, because that's 1.5 squared, times 1/2 and V1 squared, which is equivalent to 2.25 Q1. And therefore, the ratio of the dynamic pressure is Q2 over Q1, which is 2.25 Q1 Q1 over Q1. So you cross out these two, you get 2.25 as your answer. And therefore 2.25 is the answer. And that's this problem. Any questions? No? All right. So we'll just skip all of these, and that's really it. So good luck on your guys' SAT whenever it may be that you take them. I hope you guys learned something from this class and got something out of it. Otherwise, that's it. Good luck, I guess. Yeah. You're very welcome. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around for another minute or two to answer them. It could be about anything, college applications or anything. I'm happy to stick around for an extra 2 minutes to just like answer them. You're welcome, guys. I am not entirely sure. There might be. Again, that's entirely on a provisional basis. I'm not sure what I'll be doing next year, so it is what it is. But yeah, there's no class next week. We're done. It's the final class. I decided not to do the extra class because I didn't know. I didn't have enough stuff to put in for an hour and a half. So yeah. All right. Stop sharing then. Just finish this.